Let's get into today's top stories. And Anthony Albanese started the day in Fiji with a Pacific family snapshot. He ended it by adopting the 2050 Blue Pacific strategy to protect the ocean and accelerate economic growth. The PMs also welcomed assurances from the Solomon Islands that a Chinese military base won't be established there.
I note that Prime Minister Sogavare has made very positive comments about the engagement that we had. I welcome that. I think you've got to deal with people at face value.
Australia's rental crisis is worsening, with a new report showing prices are now higher than they were at the start of the pandemic. The increase is being driven by low vacancy rates, high demand for units and the return of migrants. It's created the steepest annual rent rise in more than a decade.
For a lot of people, that means that they're much worse off than when the pandemic started because incomes have not risen as fast as the rents have.
And as rumours swirl about his racing future, Aussie Formula One star Daniel Ricciardo is digging in. He's told fans he's committed to McLaren until the end of next year and that he's not walking away from the sport. But the 33-year-old's been struggling this season and he's 5 places behind teammate Lando Norris. Even McLaren says Daniel's performances have not met his or our expectations. Ouch.
Ruthless sport, isn't it, Formula One? It's so ruthless. And I think one of the things that a lot of people who are pretty casual with the sport don't really realise is it's so much more of a team sport than you think. Like, that's why we were talking off air about how the Constructors' Championship is actually the one that they hang their hat on. And you look at Lewis Hamilton this year, he's a bit off the pace because the Mercedes car isn't quite what it was. Yep. Ferrari last year, they were no good. Now Charles Leclerc is quite often at the top of the grid. But Daniel Ricciardo, we know how good of a driver he is. I would love to see him in just one of the best cars, given the best run, just to see how high he can go.
Do you think it's a good excuse though? Like he literally has a thing being like, oh, I didn't actually race that well today. But the car though.
Well, the problem is though for him, Lando Norris is ahead of him.
Yeah.
And they're in the same car. That's where this gets
5 spaces ahead. Yeah. 5 places. Yeah.
If McLaren drops Ricciardo, can he just refuse to give the car keys back?
Yeah, it's a no return policy. I like it.
Might work. Let's stick with sport because Queensland has taken out this year's State of Origin series. Did you guys know that? You aware of that?
I did. I don't think that Tony knew.
Tony, you know?
Did you know?
Next.
Seemed pretty blue on the ABC Breakfast this morning.
ABC Breakfast. Tune in tomorrow.
Yeah. So let's check in with the fans at Suncorp Stadium because I heard they kept celebrations pretty low key and I have to say respectful.
Queensland! Yeah, it's normal.
And we've been in touch with the camera operator and he made it home safe. Okay.
I just thought I saw Georgie Tunney in the background.
Yeah, I've got here rather quickly. Yeah, I put myself in there for a little bit as well. Now, a real surprise today with jobs figures. Fresh data shows Australia's unemployment rate for June dropped to 3.5%. That's down from 3.9% in May. It hasn't been that low since 1974. Now, the market had only been expecting it to fall to 3.8%. The underemployment rate rose slightly to 6.1%.
Researchers have revealed hundreds of HSC students were caught cheating on their assessments last year. 734 students from 216 schools were involved. Plagiarism was the most common form of cheating. It's an increase of 27% on 2019 figures. The rise is being blamed on the increasing pressures of Year 12 and pandemic stress. Some kids in our audience are very interested in that story.
Well, they're feeling very guilty about it.
Where are these cheaters? Where are these cheaters?
Yeah. You'd never do that, Tony.
No way.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And Britain's strictest pub is reopening, but patrons keen to return to the Fox and Goose in Droitwich, Worcestershire, will only be welcomed if they keep it clean. Anyone heard swearing will be asked to leave, along with foul language. Phones, tablets and laptops aren't permitted. And they're not the only things that are banned.
Unfortunately, the children aren't allowed to sit inside the building. They're welcome to come in to use the toilet if they're with an adult.
It's like they've made a pub for Waleed. I mean, this is ridiculous. Seriously. You hate kids, you don't drink, all that stuff.
I like kids.
You say it very goodly.
Sorry, just because I don't
actually went a bit too high pitched there. You know that song?
I like kids.
It's going well, yeah.
The story is faltering a little bit.
Just because I don't drink doesn't mean I'm a monster.
We'll see.